Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Parenting Against the Grain. I'm Amy Webb, your usual host and moderator of the group. If you're new to the group, welcome. I try to do lives about once a week if I can, usually about some topic that either someone has asked a question about or just something that has kind of been in the media or the news or something that is just interesting to me. So if you ever have a topic that you'd like to discuss in these live videos or just discuss in the group in general, feel free to post that in the group. One bit of housekeeping: if you are not seeing as many posts from this group as you think you should be, like you signed up for the group and then you're not seeing anything, you might want to check your notifications. When you go into the group, there's the little three dots at the top, and you can make sure that you choose all posts, and that way you won't miss things. I think we've had some people that have been missing things from what, I could just tell, like when you can see how many people are viewing something, it seems like not very many people are seeing certain things. And so make sure you have that set. Obviously, if you're seeing this video, then you might have it set right because you're able to see this when it comes up. So that's good. So if you missed last week, we talked about play fighting. And so if that's a topic that is of interest to you, especially if you have young children, 3, 4, that might be something that you want to go check out after this is over. So you can scroll through the group and find last week's video, and that's all about play fighting. So if that's something you're interested in. So today I thought I would talk about positive parenting. You've probably seen I've been posting a lot of stuff about positive parenting this week. I think what prompted me to do that was because we've had several people enter the group, and when you answer those questions, when you enter the group, a lot of people are saying, I want to parent my kids in a different way than I was raised, or, the people around me, maybe family members or other friends, don't parent the same way I do, and I need support in that struggle. And so, this group is called Parenting Against the Grain, but the core kind of underlying parenting philosophy of it is positive parenting. And so that is something that I want to be, first of all, just clear about, but also I think a lot of people need support with this positive parenting approach, because maybe it's not the way you were raised, or it's not the way your parents are used to interacting with kids, or, other family members. Sometimes it can be a struggle if grandparents or aunts and uncles have not raised kids the way that you want to raise your kids, then it can sometimes be a little point of challenge and struggle. So that was one reason I wanted to talk about positive parenting today. Okay, so first of all, I think there's some myths around positive parenting, because you hear the word thrown out in the media and in articles, and sometimes I feel like there's a lot of misinformation about what positive parenting really is. So first off, I think some people feel like it's this sort of like new age touchy-feely approach to parenting that involves no boundaries, no discipline. You let your kid do whatever they want. Anyway, that's what I've heard people say, right? And you may have heard that from family members, like, why aren't you spanking your kid, or why aren't you disciplining your kid this way? And in your heart of hearts, you know that you want to do a more positive parenting approach, and that is not really part of it. So just to be clear, positive parenting is not let your kid do whatever they want. It's not permissive parenting. It is sort of finding the balance between boundaries and somewhat freedom, and also understanding your child's unique personality. So really, it's about focusing on boundaries with your child and that help them understand the core reason behind that boundary and why those rules exist. So I think, in the past, and a lot of the times the way maybe we were raised or past generations were raised, it was a lot of just do what I say, don't ask questions. So positive parenting takes a different approach, and we say, we're going to have boundaries, we have rules, but I want you to understand rules rules and boundaries exist. They're usually there to keep you safe or to keep you healthy or, to help you develop some skill that you're going to need as an adult. So that's really what positive parenting is about. It's not permissive and there are boundary setting involved, but it's kind of done in a more intentional, meaningful way. The other thing sometimes I've heard is just that positive parenting is kind of a fad, or it's just one of those parenting trends that comes and goes with all the other parenting trends. Like, you hear all these catchphrases in the media, helicopter parents and tiger parents. And, so positive parenting, I think the term might be somewhat new, but it's not that new. I think it's been around for, a generation maybe. But when I was in grad school, I think the term that we may have used in the research was authoritative parenting. So, if you imagine sort of the range of parenting styles, right? Over here you have permissive, where there's no boundaries, no rules, and there's a lot of emotional support, but there's not any restraints or any boundaries on kids' behavior. On the other end, you have authoritarian parenting. I always get those two words confused. Authoritarian parenting, which is like a dictatorship. So this is the old adage of do as I say, not as I do. Just basically do what I say and keep your mouth shut. That's the other end. Positive parenting, or what in the research is called authoritative parenting, is right kind of in the middle, right? It's the messy middle. And that's what makes it tricky, because we have boundaries, we have high expectations for our kids, we also provide a lot of emotional support and kind of that deeper understanding of why the rules exist. So positive parenting is not just a fad. It's been, talked about in the research since at least probably the 60s, probably before that. So it's not something really new. It's just maybe a different spin or different phrase that people talk about more now. Okay, so that's some of the myths about positive parenting. The other thing I thought I would talk about is what are the goals of positive parenting? Why should we even, try to implement this type of parenting? How does it help my child? So really, like when you think about the big picture of parenting, positive parenting has the same goal that most, all of us have, which is to raise happy, healthy kids who are well adjusted and can go out into the world and be productive adults and contribute to society. I think that's what most of us want, in a general sense, at least. So the way positive parenting approaches these goals is through a couple of different things. The first one I would say is teaching emotional self-regulation. So like I said, in the past, a lot of times parents would approach kids' behavior as just something that is that they see as misbehavior or something that is kind of unhealthy. It's just like go to your room or go in timeout, or maybe in the past, they would do spanking, okay? And there wasn't much interest in, well, why did my child do that, or what's going on with them, or it was just like they did something wrong and go send them away. The goal with positive parenting is helping your kid develop emotional self-regulation so that when they're an adult, they won't do negative behaviors, right? And so we focus a lot, and I've said this over and over in this group, so if you've watched some of these other videos, this is going to sound familiar, but the whole idea with positive parenting is that we put boundaries on children's behavior, but not punishing their emotions. So they can feel sad. It's okay to feel sad and cry and, even throw a fit if you have to, if that's how it helps you get your feelings out. But the boundaries are around behavior. If you're mad, you don't hit your brother. If you're mad, you don't, yell at your mom. Okay. And so we try to teach them emotional self-regulation skills. And that's the key part of it here, is skill building, so that they have some other ways of expressing those emotions. So that's, I think, in the long-term picture of our child's development, we want them to be grown-ups who know how to deal with those emotions and not just stuff them down with, alcohol or food or shopping or whatever other sort of distraction that a lot of people use to ignore feelings that they have about things. and negative experiences. So we want our kids to be able to experience those feelings, but learn how to cope with them in a healthy way, and that's why we do things like time in, where you go, the child may go over to like a quiet area of the room and they have some, tools, or you've taught them skills in order to deal with those big emotions, whether it be breathing skills or, little tools to help them work through things, sensory items, all those things help, so that over time they learn how to deal with those big emotions and not lash out at people. And that's kind of the bigger goal. And that also helps us as people implementing positive parenting avoid helicopter parenting, right? This is what we hear in the media all the time. We just had this big case in the media about these celebrities who try to get their kids into these colleges, right? It's like the ultimate form of helicopter parenting. Well, okay, what's underlying the helicopter parenting is I don't want my kid to experience anything negative. I don't want them to have to be sad about not getting into college, or to be frustrated, or to be upset. And so the way to avoid helicoptering, in my mind, is positive parenting, because you're teaching them how to deal with those negative experiences all along the way, whether it be when they're 2 and they fall down and scrape their knee, or whether it be when they're 18 and they don't get into the college that they want to get into. They're going to have the skills to deal with those negative emotions, and we don't have to just take them away and wish them away and do things to avoid them having bad experiences, because there's really no way to do that. They're all our kids, all of us go through negative experiences. We all have bad things happen to us. And positive parenting focuses on how can I help my kid deal with those negative emotions. Okay, so number 2, kind of the goal of positive parenting is to understand the root causes of our children's behavior. And this, I think, ties into the first one. But like I said before, in the past, it was just sort of like, oh, our kid misses some, our kid does something we don't like or breaks a rule, and we just send them to their room, and that's it. With positive parenting, the focus is on trying to understand, why did they do that? Okay, what's the root cause of some behavior that we don't like? So maybe they're feeling anxious about something going on at school, and that's why they are not getting ready for school in the morning. Or maybe when they come home from school, they throw a fit and lay down on the floor and cry, not because they're trying to be bad or because they're a bad kid, but because something happened at school that upset them. So we dig deeper as positive parents to try to understand what is going on with my child and why are they acting this way. And usually it comes down to, especially with young children, they don't have a certain skill that they just hasn't developed. And so, when a toddler throws a tantrum in the store, it's not because they're a bad kid, it's because they don't have good emotional self-regulation yet. And so that's a skill that we try to focus on building through our interactions with them, so that maybe by the time they're 4 or 5, they won't throw a fit in the store anymore when they don't get a toy or whatever. So it's all about skill building and understanding the reason my child is acting this way is because they haven't developed a certain skill that we need to work on. So that's the root cause of behavior. That's kind of another core emphasis in positive parenting. Okay, number 3 goal in positive parenting is relationship building. This, I think, is really interesting because it really separates positive parenting from some other, parenting approaches that you might have experienced in your own life. So in contrast to what you might see in the media or on social media or whatever, positive parenting isn't about, I'm crafting this perfect child. If I just put enough education and discipline and I give them all the right things, they will turn into a perfect child. That's not really, to my mind, the positive parenting approach. What positive parenting is about is I'm trying to build a relationship with my child that will hopefully last a lifetime, and they will want to come visit me when I'm old and gray, and they will want to come interact with me as they get older and seek out my advice even when they're adults. So part of that is establishing this as a priority all throughout their growing up years. And so it's not just about compliance and I want my kid to do what I want them to do. It's about that relationship and them understanding you, you understanding them, and also understanding their unique personality and why they do the things they do. This is why I love temperament, and I talk a lot about temperament, is because it really helps you see your child for who they are, not who you want them to be or who you wish them to be or who you thought they were going to be before they were born. And there's a great meme going around on Facebook, I'll have to find it, that talks about that, you know, part of positive parenting is coming to terms with the fact that this is your child, you're parenting this unique child who is given to you, not some like make-believe child that you wish you had. So that is really part of it in positive parenting, is understanding your unique child and building that relationship. Okay, and then the fourth thing about positive parenting that is kind of one of the main goals is modeling. This is the part that is hard for us, hard for all of us, including myself. So the old model of parenting, you know, maybe a generation or two ago was just like I said earlier, do as I say, not as I do, right? That parents can do whatever they want, but kids are expected to comply and be obedient and just keep your mouth shut. That's not what approach of positive parenting, as you may have guessed. This new model, or not, it's not really new, but positive parenting approaches it as I have to go first. That's what we're saying a lot of times with positive parenting is, if I want my child to respond calmly to tough situations, I have to do it first. If I want my child to eat their vegetables, I have to do it first. If I want my child to be kind to other people, I have to do it first. And so a big piece of positive parenting is modeling the behavior we want to see, because that is one of the biggest teaching moments that we ever have as a parent, is to, you know, model that behavior for them to see every day and every interaction. And that also means our interactions with them. And that's where it gets really tricky, because we lose our temper. I lose my temper. We all do it. But the more we can try to model the behavior that we want to see with, you know, kind voices, and keep trying to keep our emotions in check, and then that will eventually, kind of by almost by osmosis, they learn how to react calmly. They learn how to you know, manage their emotions just by seeing how we do it. So that's a little quick rundown about positive parenting. I hope that helps. I know a lot of people in the group have mentioned, as I said, that they're trying to do things differently with their kids maybe than they experienced or the way their parents raised them. So I think this gives you kind of a little quick, maybe 10-minute summary of positive parenting. So I hope that's helpful. And I also wanted to mention, as you've probably seen some of the posts this week, the Positive Parenting Bundle is out this week. Actually, today is the last day to get it. And what this bundle is about 18 positive parenting courses, all put together at a very, very, very discounted price. It's like 94% off if you tried to buy all those courses individually. And I do want to bring it up because I don't like to be salesy or anything like that, but I know most of the bloggers and writers who wrote these courses who are in this bundle, and they're awesome. So, you know, these are some of my favorite parenting bloggers that I read all the time. And these courses cover a wide range of topics. So there's everything from potty training to sleep, if you're dealing with, you know, very young kids, all the way up to having the birds and the bees talk. There's stuff about positive discipline. There's things about how to be a more patient parent yourself. Just a whole range of topics. I know there's one about growth mindset if you're looking to help your kid develop that. Anyway, it's 18 courses and it's at a very discounted price, and it ends tonight. So if you're interested in that bundle, I'll post a link in here, but I would encourage you to take a look at it. It is really high quality, and it's something that I don't think that you would regret looking at and taking a look at and purchasing, because really what it does to me, what it helps most parents do, I think, is, you know, most of us don't have time to read parenting books on all those topics, right? You'd have to read like 20 books to get all the information that's in these courses. Whereas a course, since most of it's video, you can just listen to it on your way to work or listen to it while you're making dinner. It's a lot easier to digest that information, and I think in a video form. And so that's why I always appreciate these bundle deals, is because you can get all this information and it's very easy to digest. Sometimes a lot easier than reading books. So take a look at that if you're interested. I hope this helps. As always, post questions or comments and I will come back and check them. And I hope you have a great Thursday.